All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with us for our Tri-State Trends podcast. I got my man Kyle Watson with me, big time hitter. March 2023 is knocking the cover off the ball, and we are very close to releasing week 5 numbers. But through week 4, my man's helped 62 families. Which, by the way, Kyle, when you do that in a time frame of 30 days, it sure does help your family, doesn't it?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So 62 families through 4 weeks in March, probably end up somewhere north of 75 families in 1 month. Dude, how does that feel for you, that your process is validated, that income has become more predictable, and that you pretty much know that you can go out and go do this every month now?
To be completely honest, it's essentially like a massive weight off of your shoulders once you have a consistent set of confidence. It's easy to have confidence when it happens a couple times, and now I'm about to start year 2, and really, okay, I know this process works. Now I can focus heavily on how can I help this next person tenfold.
Got it.
How can I get them to a point early on, as opposed to, wow, I can only do this because I'm worried about our income.
Right.
Very different.
That's huge. Now, that's a lot of reps, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of reps. When did you start? Almost end of year 1. When did you start ramping it up and seeing that, hey, I can get this result? When did that start to happen?
I want to say I knew right around the holiday party, so like middle of December. I see all these people getting new awards. Obviously, again, Steve Giordano being your upline, it's a consistent. You're not doing enough because he does the absolute most at all times. So there's always that voice, and then it's also, okay, I really know what I'm capable of. I see a vision of hitting 80, 90, 100 families a month because a person who I directly talk to, a brother of mine, a close friend, is actively doing it, and we talk about it all the time.
Got it.
And I knew, hey, right around there, 2023, it's gonna get a little crazy.
So this is 2021 Christmas party?
No, this was 4 months ago, like
22. 2022 Christmas party.
22, right before convention. I was like, I had that January lull of like after the holidays, and I was like, all right, we're gonna hit convention, and I'm gonna make sure we crush February and then roll into March like a stampede.
I love it. So very recently, but what was the climb like? Because there was a 2022 year, okay, and then there was a time where you had your best month. Like, whoa, like, better than any month prior to that, and you was like, oh wow, and then there's an aha moment of, I could do that again. When was that?
I think that click was maybe, I'd have to say October, like probably right after my wedding.
Okay.
Because we came off like a weekend wedding high of like, hey, this is fun.
Huh.
Right? Like I'm riding around and I'm getting it. And I know how to do it on such a level of like, well, only reason why I wouldn't be getting it is because I'm just not working hard enough. Once you get out of your own way and say, I've already been doing it, right? Like it's about to be year 2. I don't have any other excuses.
Right.
All the, early on excuses, that's not there. So I knew right around we came home from like our weekend getaway, and we're like, all right, I'm going to ramp this up. I'm going to finish strong. I'm going to hit Hall of Fame, which I did.
Yes, you did. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. And it's those small things of, okay, hey, what do I need to do?
Right.
And hitting those small marks that eventually add up to those bigger milestones.
All right. So a lot of people live in this space. Family First Life is a great opportunity. It's a phenomenal opportunity. I can have the best of all worlds. I can, work, to the least of my capabilities and still do well, and then enjoy the rest of my life. Wow, this is the land of milk and honey. Okay, you lived that way for a while, but then you said, "Wait a minute, this is actually fun. I know I can do this at a higher level. I'm going to go in, But in order to go in, you had to set some markers. You had to set some boundaries in place so that you wouldn't just fall back into the same person who said, this is fun.
Yeah.
What were those markers and boundaries and those the criteria or the things that you held yourself accountable to? What were those things that you had to shore up?
I think it started with how disciplined am I really? I kind of had to put myself in like the first week of how I was in Marine Corps boot camp. It's called receiving week. You don't know anything. You just move fast and you break a lot of things. But your brain's on autopilot and you kind of just keep going. But you start with the small stuff, which is making your bed, which is making sure that your boots are aligned the same way. I kind of made myself so regimented every single day. And like, I'm sure John will tell you, I'm not always the best person to be around because I'm very strict and intentional with what I do. And if it doesn't fall into line with that, don't do it. It's either this way, because at the end of the day, if I'm on point, everything else falls in line.
Right.
So I make sure that I am consistent with myself and keeping myself honest and disciplined with those smaller things, as in like making my bed, being on time, showing those smaller things that all add up as time goes on.
That's so huge. And I'm glad you said what you said. I mean, it's your truth and what you did. But isn't it funny how we know we can do more, but in order to do more, we need less freedom?
It's mind-boggling how once you kind of get out of your way and figure out, okay, what are my real distractions?
Right.
Yeah, your phone might be one, but at the end of the day, we need our phones to work. Cool.
Right.
I don't do a lot outside of how to consistently make money, consistently help families, and then also consistently help the next person on my team who's going through contracting, who is going to inevitably hit the lulls and the low points of what we do consistently. At the same time, I'm actually going through them as well. That's making sure that I have enough, whether it's the military bearing or mental fortitude, to say, hey, listen, keep going. It doesn't matter. Keep going. It's all you're going to be just fine.
Doesn't matter. Keep going.
If Sean decided to stop at some point, we wouldn't be here, right? If you didn't decide to level up, we wouldn't have the office. It's just keep going.
Right.
It doesn't matter. There's a point. Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
Like, let's just. I'm telling you, like, I'm here. Let's keep going.
That's like cold water on a very hot summer day, the way you're saying that to me, because it's like I get it and I live it and I know it. Talk to someone who doesn't understand that, who's struggling so mightily with the difference between something that's regimented, which equals true freedom over time, versus the freedom they're selling themselves they have, which is just the time of the day.
It starts, and everyone's situation in life is going to be different. Everyone's focus is going to be different. The reason why everything. Take a day, if you're a brand new agent, if you've only been doing this 6 months, to be honest, a year. Take a day. You've kind of seen a good majority of things that can and will happen in this industry, and ask yourself, is this going to be self-sustainable as time in 5 years? Am I still going to be in the same mental spot or better? Not like worse or a little bit. Am I going to be good still doing this? Be honest with yourself, because sometimes it's easy to get caught up in whatever post you might see about yourself because it's all the hoop. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Am I going to be able to consistently help others and myself at the same time? And if you kind of have a difference of opinion from there, you already know that your discipline's not going to be in making sure that you're doing the small stuff. You have to make sure that this is a decision for you to eventually grow in a certain way to how you want to see it. And I think it honestly just comes down to how much do you really want it? And that's okay if you want it half the time. That's great. You're going to get half the results.
Right.
You can't complain if you haven't put the work in.
Right.
But there was a time where I was praying to God for an opportunity to just kind of be there. And the irony of, and I always say this, he's the funniest comedian I've never seen. Because there's days when I'll be complaining and I'll be this or it's that. And John is like, well, you pray for it. And I'm like, yeah. You can't complain about the things you ask help for. And it doesn't make sense.
That's fact. That's fact.
And that's where I start. It starts with that discipline and knowing, hey, once I square this away and I'm on point, I know where I'm at, I know where we're going. This is what's going to make. As soon as my girls can get a script down, let me tell you, I'm gonna have 2 personal dialers in my basement, and we're gonna get it going.
Mm-hmm.
Start somewhere. Keep those small disciplines. And as time goes on, just check in with yourself. Hey, am I good? Am I okay? Is this what I want to do? And it's all right if you don't want to. You're still licensed, and if you got to start with yourself. And if you don't, you're going to try to people please, and then it just spirals out of control.
Right. That's so true. And, when you think about that discipline, it plays itself out in actual numerics. So can we talk a little bit about what you're investing in leads on a week-to-week basis? What does your regimen look like, your schedule, the amount of appointments you set to run, and how that all plays out?
Lead spend, number one, if you're not buying leads in this industry, good luck. That's just the start. Lead spend, I'd probably say right now, thankful to the man above, probably 1,000, maybe 1,500 a week on leads. I want to have realistically 30 to 40 newer leads, prospects, families to help, right around maybe 120 a month, because you're going to have your rollovers, you're going to have the people who can't, you're going to have the consistent thing, but I want to have enough stacked up. So, yeah, we have reschedule, no problem. Yeah, we have a reschedule, no problem. Because whether that's the next day or the next day or the next day, I already have 5-6 appointments each and every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm also dialing, and I think this is the confusion for a lot of newer people, until you get to a point of your financial situation being not even comfortable, content, you should be dialing every day. Whether it's an hour, whether your activity is so crucial. Consistent activity breeds consistent production.
No doubt.
If you have a day off, that's great. You need to have 8 days of, because you already missed one. you got to go 8 days without a vacation.
Right.
Haven't been anywhere in 2 years. And every single year that John and I have consistently done what we've needed to, our situation has got massively different. Right. Whether it's individually ourselves, whether it's things we want to do or invest in, there's a very, very, very big difference when you have consistent activity as opposed to sporadic and like, oh, when I feel like I want to.
Right. I
don't always feel like sitting in my car for 14 hours in Philadelphia when it's pouring rain, but I know I might have 6 in-person appointments and I can crush virtual for until the sun comes up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And now that's huge. So are you running in home? Are you doing tele? Are you doing both? How does that typically work for you?
I'm trying to make a heavy transition to more virtual, which I've been doing in the previous weeks, mainly because I want to show my guys that you can do both. You can be fantastic at one. You can absolutely destroy one, but you can do both. If you want to have the ability to do virtual, that's perfectly fine. You're going to be on the phone for 12 hours a day.
Right.
And if you're not, you can't complain about the production because that's what it takes.
Right.
If you're able to one call close the 50 leads that you have, beautiful. You are doing something, and you, I guess, made a deal with the devil. Congrats. I'm not that person. I'm not there yet. But I know that if I'm only virtual, okay, I know that there's a limiting factor. I tell all of my agents, if you're only doing virtual and you won't go into home, that's perfectly fine. Don't call and complain when the people aren't answering the phone.
Right.
The other side of it is I have my leads that I specifically do in person, which is all of my the final expense mailers from our ILC, from either in the counties I have locked out specifically, or Delaware, Jersey, or Maryland. Why? Because I kind of have a 2-hour radius of where I live that I'm willing to drive one way.
Makes sense.
To go door knock. Because if I have that information, like you guys all know, If I get a lead on Monday, which is today, and I don't hear back from this person in 24 to 48 hours, and I know that it's a person in my 2-hour radius, I'm on your doorstep. There's nothing to talk. I'm there. How we doing, Mark? Hey, dinner time's happening. Great. I absolutely love swordfish. Let's sit down. It's happened. Just take the professionalism that everyone's so coy about, and just be a person. Have a conversation. Be normal.
Right. That's huge. And the connection of, again, but you have so much activity that it tends to just kind of ease the performance or ease the soul or ease your mind. And it gives you the ability to say stuff like, just have a conversation, be a human being. You've tested it enough to know that that's the best method, and it's going to allow you to win. And a lot of people are trying to be scripted or this or that or being something they're not, and it's okay. But do enough reps so you don't have, make it to the finish line. Do the reps, do the reps, do the reps, do the reps. And all of a sudden, this thing gets simpler, less complicated, more productive, more lucrative.
Absolutely.
For you and your family, and you're out there protecting a bunch of families. Kyle, you're absolutely killing it.
Appreciate it.
And, I'm excited to see what the rest of the year has in store for you in regards to your personal production, but also your team.
Yes,
because
sir.
anyone who knows what you know, we need to be getting this information out to other people. So you have a team you're building, and it's growing, but I'd love to see that thing explode. And I know you're capable of doing that.
That's the plan. Yeah, we want to just really blow up. And I think that's mainly why I decided I need to change up what I was doing to have more to converse and talk about when it comes to virtual, because
Right.
I was very, very heavily in person, because I'm a firm believer that business is this, right? This is how our country was built. They didn't have YouTube, Facebook when we started.
Right.
So I understand that, but I'm not a fool. I realize, hey, if you can't be good at both and you're headstrong on one, you're not going to really blow up how you need to. So I wanted to make sure I was putting myself in a position to have enough to talk about with recruits, with newer agents, with agents who might be transitioning, because I can only say so much when it comes to, hey, go door knock. So
Right.
I had to change within myself before I
good.
could really change anybody else.
That's really good, especially now with the scale, leads in all the 50 states, being able to call from anywhere.
It's insane.
It's insane. And I'm glad you said that, because we're going to do this interview again in 3 months when you make that transition, because it's a different animal from that side of the fence where, hey, everyone you start can get started quickly, fast, and in a hurry because leads aren't an issue.
Exactly.
Again, thank you so much, Kyle, for helping us out.
Appreciate
It's
it.
amazing what you do. I thank you for the way you convey the information, because a lot of people are working on a lot of the things you've mastered in the last 6 months. And that is the place of true freedom, where you regiment yourself enough to get the success to where you want it to be, to actually be able to make real decisions, not based on time or money. So thank you, my man, for sharing with us. Thank you for trending with us. Thank you for listening to our Tri-State Trends podcast. We love you guys. God bless.